welcome. We are here as I unmute everybody because of technical difficulties today. All right. Community Spotlight, Smart Gamer Live. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hola.
Hello. But we're not doing a spotlight.
What?
That's right. I'm just completely off my game because none of my software is working properly. Community Town Hall, that's the one. I don't have the beard. That's what's throwing me off. I'm literally the only guy on this screen that doesn't.
We
have
are
a beard.
your beard.
Yeah, we are actually shaped like a beard around you.
Sadly,
true.
it's not like that on the stream, but on this screen, we are around you like a beard.
All right, I'm Zaylin. With me, we've got Malice from Plague, Zeb from Pain Train, Velik from, I can never pronounce it properly,
Legend Gaming. Ordo Veritas.
Ordo Veritas. Here we go. Poison Taco from Part-Time Heroes.
This episode is not sponsored by Dollar Shave Club.
And and Puka from, oh gosh. Say it, Puka.
Go ahead.
I am from the Lollipop Guild.
There you go. The Lollipop Guild. You had to think about it too.
What? From the Harbingers of Light.
There you go.
From currently running with Tempest Wolves.
Yeah.
So today we are going to chit-chat about fostering community, our lovely 12 viewers. That's our little community. You guys need to kick your guys in the butts more often. Because, come on. Malice, do some kicking.
1 second. Kicking people.
But if I kick people from
Just
Discord,
kick everyone
it's
out of
actually-
the guild, and then I won't have.
But if I kick my guys from Discord, then I have to set up all their permissions again, and that's a pain in the
I
ass.
didn't say how
True.
you had to kick them. I just, Oh, Zeb. Oh, wow. Zeb, you need to tone down your guys there.
What they say? I'm not even paying attention.
Zeb does other things to butts.
The rumor has gone around, boys. That's all I have to say.
So today we're talking about fostering community within our communities. How do you get people to get along? How do you get people to like each other and have a good time? And most importantly, do stuff together all the time. And then when we as leaders fail, because let's face it, everybody fails. Yeah, I know you don't, Malice. That's fine. How do you keep people from leaving? How do you retain the members that you've got? So I'll just toss this question out there. What are some things that you guys do as a community that kind of helps promote that sense of community and getting along and kumbaya in front of the fire type of thing?
I think the first thing you have to do, which we kind of touched on in the last episode, which is why it immediately came to mind, is it starts with who you let in. Not just, getting to know those people even before you let them in, but making sure that they understand what your expectations are and that you understand what their expectations are of you, so that you can make sure that not that they're, a good person or a good player, but they are a good fit for the type of people you have.
It's always good to have a good fit. Though I know some people have pulled off very large random invite guilds that pull it off. I don't get it. I am a very particular human being, and I'm mostly an asshole, so it takes a very special person to get along with me. As such, pretty much, I think most of my members will say the fastest way to know if you're going to stay in Plague is spend a night in Discord with me. So if you spend a night in Discord with me and you survive, most people are like, yeah, we'll stick around.
It needs to be a very specific night, though.
Yeah, fair enough. I got to do PvP, and I got to be yelling at people, because if you can take me yelling at you, you're good.
Well, that's a very similar situation for us, and we've always, we never made Discord a requirement, but every one of our members knows if you're a member of the guild that doesn't find themselves continually getting in Discord, you're not going to stay around, because that's really where the community exists, is in that voice chat, and that can be to the detriment in a lot of situations where especially. Like, a lot of our members don't even look at guild chat. My members get on me all the time for not even reading guild chat. I'm like, why ain't they in Discord?
Wait,
but
you are the
I am exactly with
freaking
you.
leader of your community, and you don't even look at guild chat?
Yeah, get in Discord.
I have fluent poop on this one.
Well, thankfully, everyone else is, and they, yell at me, so it's fine. No, I'm very terrible about reading chat. I really am. But that's just a symptom of our community, and that our communication is that at this point is extremely vocal, and Discord is definitely the core of that community.
I think it's really important to emphasize people getting on voice chat if that's something that your community has available. We require it if you're doing in-game events and stuff, because there's no, and again, we kind of talked about this in the last episode, that the voice chat in many ways is, maybe not all, but in many ways is superior to text chat for getting across strategies, but also feelings and arguments and stuff. And there's just, in my opinion, there's no replacement to actually sitting down and talking to people. So one of those aspects for bringing in the right people, we require interviews before we let people into our community, because we want to ensure that we've had like an hour to sit down and talk to them and just find out what they've done in games, what they like doing in games, and make sure that they understand what they're getting into.
So Velik, you only need an hour to know, whereas Malice needs to actually spend the night with somebody to know.
Well,
Malice is a true romantic.
I like to wine him and dine him first.
Well, it's like I said in the last episode, we do have like a trial period for somebody. So we basically go through an hour with their application and everything, and then an hour interview to see, do we like them at first impression, and then we're going to spend some time before we fully accept them in and everything, which is generally about a month. So
vocal also creates community within your community with itself. You get to know the person, little facts about them that don't seem to matter to anybody. It matters to me, and it matters to a great deal of people in my guild, because that is what really builds relationships.
Is the voice.
Over voice, which is you can do over text, but it takes so much longer to know whether somebody's a fit or not.
This is really interesting coming from this group of people who is from the days of like Dark Age of Camelot, where there was no voice chat,
text, right?
and it was only text, and you created incredible relationships with people. Why the change?
I think the advantage of voice is it accelerates. So like if you look 10 years ago, right, and you were like, well, let's talk about core members. Like very core members or members that have been a part of your community for probably 5 years at that point, right? And it's because a lot of that, in my opinion, is the nature of communication, and that it took that much longer for a lot of these interactions to come out, where things are accelerated in voice and you get to know a person so much faster, and core members are built quicker. And a lot of guilds, have core members that have been around for like a year or 2 years, and they consider them like these guys are here to stay. Is because voice has enabled you to really accelerate that process in a lot of things.
But I think you don't really get the people on voice talking together unless you have activity. One thing I like to say is activity breeds activity, and it breeds familiarity. Unless people are in Discord talking to each other, playing games and stuff, you're not really getting to know each other.
Yeah, you got to have something to do. I mean, there's got to be a hook. Like your guild has to have a hook. That's why people joined it in the first place.
Well, I mean, the other thing too is like you guys are more from like hard MMOs, where I've done, at least in the last few years, I've done a lot more action games, a lot more FPS games, and voice is invaluable. Like you can't operate with text at all.
Yeah, I would say that currently, especially in the modern MMO, now obviously the get to know you process can be done in text or in voice. But when you're in combat, like you were talking with FPS, the rate of combat has so accelerated even in the MMO space that you have to do it with voice. You can't, like, you talk about the old Dark Age of Camelot days. Yeah, I could get my attack down to 2.7 seconds every attack. That is forever. Literally, we have stuns that are important now at 2.5 seconds in the modern game. And you look at Dark Age and you were like, mezzing crowds.
50-second mezzes, y'all.
Right.
You know what it's like to sit there for 50 seconds?
Exactly.
Screaming internally.
You could get a stork up to 1.5 minutes on a mez. I mean, so you could type for weeks like that, but you just can't do that. You have to have voice. And because we are primarily PvP level guilds, at that point, getting to know you and fighting with you is one and the same. And
there's no better way.
So
there's no better way, right, Mouse?
Is required, right?
So, since we all have Discord until TeamSpeak kind of gets their act together and makes it a little bit more user friendly, are developers wasting their time by putting voice chat into their games? Is there a benefit from using an in-game voice chat for community?
I was going to say absolutely they are.
Yes.
I would much rather see a Discord integration instead of a proprietary VoIP application.
Actually,
what C's doing, yep.
Actually, I disagree with that because I know Discord makes it really easy to get people into Discord, but having an in-game voice chat is really good for also meeting new people.
Well, and
yeah, I was gonna.
And anybody playing Star Citizen here can talk about that. And the idea of area VoIP from a sense of immersion and the ability to meet and communicate is an amazing concept. It's just I don't think we've seen it done properly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's a waste for them to have their own in-game VoIP. Like, I think the guilds don't use it. The guilds aren't going to make very great use of it for the large part because we have our own stuff which tends to be superior and better organized, and we have our own people to play with for most occasions. But I do think that for solo players, for pugs and things of that nature, having in-game VoIP is kind of better because I don't know if other people have issue with it or not, but we can invite people as guests, of course, to our Discord, our guild Discord. But if I'm pugging in a game, I don't really want to go join someone else's Discord every single time I get into a different group with random people. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and I don't want to do it.
I don't know. I'm gonna imitate the Call of Duty public chat whenever you go into any show.
Thank you.
Always that one kid that just starts screaming off the top of his head through the whole entire match.
I will admit, I've muted a lot of people.
I always just be a Jew.
So we touched on something there that I thought was kind of interesting. If you're trying to get out there and meet new people, but everybody is in a Discord-based voice chat, and you get some rando to join your group, and the game has a voice chat in there, in the game, and do you just mute them? How are you interacting? How are you trying to bring this person into your fold or see if they're good? Because we've stated now that voice chat is kind of required for the speed at which a lot of these games go. How do you navigate that issue?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it's like an official group or something, like my guild has most of it filled up, we would try to get them to join us in our Discord as a guest.
And I'm just
if they don't want to, and it's not a super critical thing, then I wouldn't require them to use voice or anything if it's not, something that is that critical. But
well, so I would say, and I 100% agree. Even myself, I get tired of adding another icon to my Discord. It's like, oh my goodness.
Hey, but you can put folders now.
Discord folders. Oh my god!
Yeah,
I savior of my life.
but the point is, like, I am rarely would I post like our own guild Discord when we are doing something that has the potential to draw a lot of pugs in. But like a fine example of a game like Guild Wars 2, every server had a community set up in Discord, and so what it is like, hey, you're a member of this server and you're doing World versus World here. Get in the community Discord. And then what you do is every guild that's a member of that community, you bring them into that, and we're only spamming one Discord. Mm-hmm. And now if a guild wants to do something private, they don't want to be that part of that community, that's fine. And if you're a member that wants to run with them, then you message a member and you're like, hey, can I join y'all's Discord? And you invite members off of there, then you have pugs, and then they eventually probably become members of your guild as well. But the point is, that community Discord still exists, and that's one of the most invaluable tools for bringing pugs into the fold of a more organized group running our community Discords. But it takes guilds as well being able to sacrifice the using of their Discord to go into this community Discord. Those are invaluable.
My big problem with Discord is it's still lacking in a lot of features. There's no commander feature. There's no whisper functionality when it comes to voice chat. And if we're going to compare games to in-game VoIP to Discord, you take something like PlanetSide 2, which has spatial voice chat, which you can talk to anybody around you. You have your squad chat. You have platoon chat. You also have commander chat. And if you're a commander, if you're in the thick of things, you can have like 4 different push to talk buttons, which can be kind of insane, but at the same time really necessary for running 50 plus people. And on top of that, we've done a little bit of Arma where we can set up there's a mod with a plugin connected to TeamSpeak where in Arma you actually have like radios, and you have to like set radio frequencies just to be on like the same channel as other people. And the way that you can set it up, so you can have different squads, people connected to like support pilots and stuff like that. It's kind of unreal in a way, but when you play a game that requires like a lot more coordination, Discord just doesn't cut it.
So I'm going to make a comment on something that Andor42 put in chat, which is a really good point. And at least from my understanding and how I've experienced it, is voice is, again, another vital tool of bridging that gap. When you do have a guild where a lot of its members are local, in other words, they see themselves outside of game a lot, they are able to build bonds that are so much closer and tighter and more intimate than that of members that are only interacting with them via text. Voice is definitely an amazing tool of bridging that gap and enhancing the connection you're able to build with members that are simply not able to meet face to face. And yes, I think it is the single-handedly one of the biggest tools of our time that have enabled communities to grow beyond that of initiating with a local core and growing from there, where you have a local group of people that might hop from game to game, and then they pick up new people within. Voice is something that has enabled remote people to feel just as strong a connection or a sense of being in a guild as members that might see each other face to face every day.
It's also allowed people like myself, and I'm sure many of you as well, as when you are moving into the category of community as opposed to just a guild. When you have multiple people in multiple guilds all over the place, it's nice that I can hop from game to game to game channel and go, hey, how you guys doing? Everything going good? Da, 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 da. Oh, you need me to log in to take care of this? Okay, bam, 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 bam. And then I can log out of that game, go into another game, go be dragged off somewhere else, go play Division 2, and then come back and still be able to bounce around and communicate with people who are playing all kinds of different games in our Discord. And that makes it more of a community. People in different games playing different things, enjoying themselves, and that ability to pull people, recruit within the guild to go, hey, we'd like you to come play this. Hey, we'd like you to do this, blah, 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 bam. And people can drag each other around, get people doing different projects, all that type of stuff. And I think that is something very unique to the evolution of voice chat and Discord and, previously in TeamSpeak.
And I think Malice just hit on another layer of this conversation, which it might be prudent to move to, which is
so I am like an onion.
Well, essentially,
you stink.
I guess how do you handle people playing different games or potentially not playing together, or that
quit reading my mind, dude. I was just getting ready to ask this question.
Well, I'm sorry. then I'm gonna hush.
No, so the idea of community is it's a lot easier when we're all playing the same game. We're all in the same voice chat channel because we're all playing that game. I'll take Plague, for example, just because I'm in there more often than not. They have a large contingent of people that play ArcAge. And so that ArcAge voice channel is very full. But there's a number of people that play ESO. There are some people that play Warframe. There are some people that still play World of Warcraft. How do you deal with the larger community and still have them have a sense of, hey, we're all big one community, but we're playing different games? That seems a little odd, and they don't always jump. I mean, there's people I've never chatted with in voice chat, and because they play different games, they don't play what I'm playing. Yet, we are all still of the same community.
That's really a requirement of leadership to jump into those different channels and talk to them and be part of their world, even if you don't play their game. This is what I do with Pain Train. There's a large segment that plays World of Warcraft. I do not play personally, but I go in there and make sure that my presence is known because we're all one community at the end.
I could agree with that because it is I think otherwise it is a difficult thing. It's not something that's very easy to, or even possible to force in any way, even if from people who do come in with the understanding that that's what they're joining, which is, I think, a part of it. But, that's what we try to do as part of the interview and everything, is to really drill in. We're community focused. We want people who want to be here for the whole community, not just one game. But that only goes so far. They're going to come in, they're going to get focused on one or two games, a couple of people that they play with, and they get zeroed in. Making yourselves available, I think, is important. Either just being in a channel, like a free channel where anybody can come in and talk to you, holding meetings. We have basically a monthly open leadership meeting where just whichever of the community leaders are available, go in a channel and just give people updates and talk to people from all the different guilds. But also, I think, absolutely going and, coming down the mountain to talk to other people is essential, because it really ultimately all the, I won't say all of it, but a lot of the weight of and requirement for these, the responsibility for, I guess is the word I was trying to find, it does bear on the officers and the leadership. If they're not creating activities for people to be doing, if they're not going in and talking to people, the members aren't going to do it.
Well,
People will only. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Buka.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think the issue is that you detached yourself from your community. It's just that you happen to be focused in one of the aspects or one of the games that some of your community is playing, but you still have other members that are wanting to do other things, and that's got to be okay, and you just got to check in.
Well, it's all about pulling those under one umbrella too, because hey, you want to do a side project. Like, I know people that want to break off and go do WoW or go do Warframe or do whatever like that, and you got to be acceptant of that and pull that under your umbrella, because the more you pull that under, then the more people. Not only do you make them feel comfortable because they just make that decision to want to play that game, but you also give them the opportunity to pull from the community to recruit more people so that they can have, even if it's just 5 or 6 or whatever people playing another game. Great. It's instant content. It's instant group, and if someone can go play Division 2 and instantly go, hey, I got 4 players, that's a group. Great. Let's go do it instead of having to pick up pugs or do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to go and play another game that's maybe not like a game you have an official guild for or anything, make them a Discord channel. Be open to letting them bring in guests and stuff, as long as the people are, according themselves by your rules, so that they can do whatever they need to have fun in that game.
Except for Warframe. Fuck that channel. You can all sit in the ESO channel.
So, most of us here are PvP-based guilds, but I know that Velik, you do a fair amount of RP, and then Taco, you've kind of got the milsim thing going on.
Yeah.
What are some in-game or in-community, not in real life, but within the bounds of games that you're doing or on Discord, what are some things that you do that have been extremely successful, or even a complete and utter waste of time and you will never do it again, and you wear the hat of shame every time you think about it. What are some things that you've done to foster that community or give people the opportunity to get to know each other better?
When it comes to getting to know each other better, usually whenever we get like a lot of new people, and like every couple months or so, I kind of hold a community-wide meeting, because we have lots of people that have been around for years and they might have like life and they're just not playing a lot of games or a lot of the same games. So I'll call like a community meeting and we'll get everybody together. We can do like a nice big meet and greet. People can introduce themselves. And those of us in the admin ranks, we can also share the stuff that we're working on. And in our particular position, since we're kind of between games, and we're kind of at a time in gaming where people are bouncing between things very quickly, we're always trying stuff. It's like, hey, do you want to try this game? Sure. Something else will pop up. We'll give it a shot. Everybody's welcome to kind of make suggestions and throw out ideas, and we kind of just try to see like what sticks, what doesn't. And as far as I'm aware, it's kind of like trial and error. I mean, we kind of treat it like a video game, where you try something. If it works, you keep it. If it doesn't work, just move on.
Yeah, I've got probably two things I can think of immediately. One is more something that used to work, and now, I guess because of shifting demographics and everything, doesn't really work anymore. And that is, we used to have a really active forum play-by-post role-play stuff that people would do, especially pre-launch of MMOs, when we're like, all right, there's no good MMOs out to play. We're waiting for this. We've been waiting for this for 3 years. Feels familiar. Which of us are interested in D&D and RP and stuff? All right, we'll just do play-by-post on forums. Before Star Wars: The Old Republic came out, we had tons of activity for that. Nobody really wants to do it anymore.
What is with the death of forums across the board? Like,
we still have ours, but
it exists.
It's mainly just for organization at this point.
Malice, that is a whole different live stream coming up. just saying.
The other thing I have is activity nights. And this is kind of a thing that did work, but I think it was more, this is something that worked at times when, because our community has grown and decreased at various points in time. We've been around for like 14 years, you know. There have been a couple instances where we were basically one MMO, and that was it. And during those times, having like a guild activity night periodically while we're waiting for games worked out pretty okay. We'd get a fair amount of activity for playing like online poker or something, just free to play stuff to kind of, you know, once a week, get people together doing something random. When we're larger, we've tried to do like community-wide activity nights to, again, you know, try to pull people from different guilds and stuff. It really does not work very well at all. People do turn out, but it's always the people who we always see online anyway. And so we're like, this is kind of against the point. I'm trying to meet new people in the community and get us together playing something we don't normally play. But people are out doing their own things, and they're like, I ain't got time for that. I'm over here playing TISO. I don't want to take a night off to play online poker or Cards Against Humanity.
Even though that's a very fun game to play.
It is. That was about the only one we got any activity with, and you can only do that so many times before people are like, okay, I'm over it.
You gotta drink a lot before you play Cards Against Humanity.
That's what we need to just have is drink meetings where we just get drunk on Discord and all hell breaks loose.
Oh, wait. I think I opened everything with, and you gotta drink before.
So, Puka, you're pretty silent on this one. I'm going to single you out.
Especially since people said the guy in the blue shirt looks bored as fuck.
Well, it's either that or
What are they saying about me?
Taco looks like he just smoked a big ass blunt.
Well, what do you
Where?
typically? What was your question for me?
What are things that you do, whether they're successful or completely and utterly a disaster, within your community to help build community, help people get to know each other, kind of strengthen the bonds?
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely a pretty small guild, you know. I mean, at our largest, we're never over 100 active members, right? So we have always stayed very small. The downside of that is people can feel, you know, when we don't have an active game or we don't have a game that we're going 100% gung ho into, It's just like, we feel like we're all over the place. And for me, that's fine. That's the nature of what we are. We are alive when we are going headstrong into a title we want. And I think everyone here has kind of felt the repercussions of what I would say is at least the last 5 years of MMO development. And that, think back to what was the last title you really went gung-ho into. And for a lot of people, that was ESO. And others, at least that maybe still has bound you today, probably ArcAge, because that came after ESO. But aside from that, there really hasn't been a title that checked all those boxes. Everything else, everyone just kind of begrudgingly tried because you felt like you needed something. So for us, we're pretty reactionary to, when a member's like, hey, what about this? And we're like, whatever, what type of commitment is it? And, there's a lot of free games that have come out that's easy to get people in and, be alive for a month. And you're like, all right, sweet. And, that's kind of been our history, for a good while, waiting on these titles that have these elaborate promises that we're like, oh, please give us exactly what we want. And we've gone back to some titles too, I will adamantly say, like, to anyone that can hear my voice, if you're trying to put a community together around a fantasy-based MMORPG, if you are, look at ESO, look at Guild Wars, and look at games like SWTOR, they are games that are definitely standing the test of time as far as holding their content, and for us, it's one of those where everyone has, once you do them, you feel like you've experienced that and you're ready to move on. And I think everyone kind of gets that in games, and I think that's why everyone is after that, what would be called a more sandbox experience, where we are able to dynamically create our own content and keep our own players engaged, and something that feels so much less scripted. Because though we've had great experiences when it comes to, and I'm over the whole, a game's going to keep us for 5+ years. I don't think that's ever going to come back. But I will say that there are a lot of less scripted experiences that will provide more than the average 3 months of prime that we've been getting out of these titles. Where after 3 months, you're just like, why are we still playing this game? And I think a lot of people feel that. But for us, to ultimately answer your question, we just go with the flow. Someone brings something, we're like, all right, we'll try it out. And we have a lot of fallback games, like match made style, like, wargaming games, League of Legends, that we'll fall back to. And those are always great global catches that, a lot of members enjoy playing at different skill levels. And I think they're great games to hop in an afternoon and spend a lot of time playing together.
Yeah, I will add one more thing that I think it's really important to always try and adapt for the times with any community, but especially for gaming communities, because I'll use my own as an example. We have a great many older gamers, and we have for the longest time, like since the inception of Legend Gaming, been an MMO gaming community. And what that meant for the longest time is if you weren't joining to play MMOs with you, we didn't want you in the community. We didn't entertain people who weren't playing MMOs because we're there to play MMOs. But, after some odd 10 years or so of that, we were like, I think we need to adapt a little bit. And, if someone for some reason is playing a non-MMO game and they will still want to join us for some reason, maybe they're going to either get interested in some of our flagship MMO guilds or something, or that means they've got friends that are in here, and so they've got a vested reason to want to get in and play and help, keep those people busy and occupied with stuff.
And there's enough games out there that blur the line that are, first-person shooter, but it's group-orientated and has
it's progression-based.
Sort of progression bit, so it's like, you got that line blur also, so that's also helped kind of mush that idea together, too.
It took us a long time to really get to the point where we were willing to go, maybe we should fudge on this a little bit and just shift from being purely MMO focused to allowing more people in. Why have we got to stick Ram so far up our butts about this? Let's open it up some.
But I'll
I
say,
blame it all on Puka.
well, I will say with that, right? I think it's really important too, and I think it's really fun that when these titles come out, that really they try to tick that classic desire that we have in an MMO. I think it's perfectly fine to go full head on into those. And not to disregard the rest of your community, but to say like, hey, listen, this is going to be our focus. These other things you guys are doing, that's fine. But if you would like to, if this has ever interested you at any time, please come give it a try with us, because we think it's an experience.
Get out of your Call of Duty channel and come over.
Well, it's an experience that rarely comes, and it's not. And this is something I have a hard time getting across the members, right? There's not going to be something that just sticks forever, right? But the joy is the ride. The joy is the getting in there and having that fun for those 3 months, right? Because whether you're like, oh, it's over, I wish whatever happened, you still had that time together, and that meant something to everyone, whether you believe it or not. Like, you built that moment, and that's important, and that's okay. And it's especially when it's a game that you bought once and you're not paying a monthly sub from. Be happy you got that 3 months out of strong, great game time together, and then just move on and learn from things. And that has, I think, been, what would you guys say, the last 8 years of MMO?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's been that
Ever since 08, really the 08, 09 is when
Ever since
dynamics for
people burn
MMO
out-
have really
ever since
changed.
People burn out on WoW. Ever since people burn out on Burning Crusade, I think that has been the situation with a lot of guilds, and that's
Burn Your Soul Crusade. Yep.
Yeah. And I
just think that's what it's been.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't know that I would say 3 months, but we've generally gotten at least a couple years out of most MMOs we put the effort in. But some of it may just be sheer obstinance, because and this is something, like I said, adapting for the times, because we've always had a tendency to want to establish early in any MMO. Like CU, we've been here for like 4 or 5 years already, just waiting for this game to come out. And after doing that for both Camelot Unchained and Crowfall, very recently we started having
invested in CU personally.
Very recently we basically just went around, mostly driven by me, and went, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm sick of this early build up and just waiting for a game to come out. Why do we start guilds 4 years before a game comes out? Maybe 1 year, 2 years, maybe I could see, but at least let the game get into beta before
It's because we want to be there first.
Yeah, and I was like, but it just ends up with being years of admin work while we wait for this crap to come out. And
Because
then by
we
the
have to
time it
step
comes
into
out,
the
we're like,
idea.
I'm so tired of waiting.
They gave us literally a point system that said, so do you want to build a guild? Here, buy these cool points and you'll guarantee your guild name and your personal name and your guild flag and your other things like that. So
They were singing the siren song for us.
oh yeah,
Pretty much.
they knew how to drag money out of me real quick.
But that was also simply a developmental strategy of getting y'all's communities invested in the game, getting you talking about it. You're free advertising at that
Right,
point.
totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's just again, which is
That's
something
what
we've not had an
Carmen screwed
issue
up with me.
because for us, period. Like, I'm not recruiting people off of a forum. I'm recruiting people because I helped you accomplish something in game, or my members did, and now you want to be a part of that. I know that's unique to us, but I've never recruited off of merit. So this kind of, for us, we're just all sitting here because we have the people that want to go into the game, and we're just like, we want our game. We want our game, And so then we're just sitting there trying to find ways of occupying our time while we wait for, that
Well, I mean,
one.
that's just the thing. I don't like. I'm not saying like we want our game. I just want a game. Just one of these games to come out.
Everyone has that. But that's where, and I think this is our real struggle in keeping our communities alive. This is the ultimate struggle, is keeping us and your members playing together. Which is why, like I said, y'all know kind of our situation. Like, our guild name is not actively happening in any title right now. In fact, most of my core or a sizable portion is playing under another guild's tag in another game. And that's okay. We're playing together.
So,
right? Like we have done something to play together and to stay together and just enjoy and experience something different.
So here's something I have for all of you guys. So we're talking about trying to keep our communities engaged, and these MMOs we're waiting for, they were kickstarted and announced 4 or 5 years ago. How do we combat I don't want to call it an issue or a problem, but just the sheer fact that our members go through different stages of life. Like, yeah, when these games were announced, we might have tons of time for gaming, but by the time these games come out, you've gone through college, you've got a wife or husband, you've got kids coming out.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've had plenty of people who have left our community in the meantime because of that very thing. Like, they've moved to another country. We have one person, one of our officers, who literally moved to another country, got married, having a kid.
I have a member
obviously was like, I am not. It was like just like I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not into it. And we're like, more power to you, man. I mean, whatever you've got to do for life.
Smells like a filthy casual.
I think there are some things you can do. Like we have activity requirements for some of our most long-term members, and I think I mentioned this in the last one. We tend to lighten those some because there were people that, we've been in the community for like 5 or 6 years. We don't want to kick you out because real life shit has happened now, and you've had kids in that time. You've been around, so you've invested your time into the community. But ultimately, some people just, stuff's going to happen, and I think the best thing you can do, honestly, is to wish them the best if someone does have to move on.
Yeah, we have an open door policy, but it's like listen, if the real life happens, you gotta go do something. Go do something. We're here when you're ready to come back.
The best thing you could do, if as a GM or leadership, is simply be flexible, not be stringent to even the rules of your creation, because people go through different things. You never know. Everybody's tale is different. So the different needs are going to come to the front, and if you're not flexible, you will lose out on a good player, whether they be Puka, filthy casuals, or not.
And when it comes to trails, you have to make sure whether they're striped or they have dots on them, or if they're black.
Well, another thing I'm doing too is I'm actually getting some guys in my group that are a little bit young, on the young side. But I've got an officer who's 18, really mature for being 18. Like, he has more patience than the rest of us for, questionable people. And, it's just nice to get, the younger group that have the time to kind of put in. And I kind of hope we got lucky with these MMOs coming out, that it brings in, like, a whole new generation of people that haven't had that. Like, how long has it been since we've had a decent MMO that sweeps gamers?
Well, that's something I'm really excited about, the ability to bring that to people that, we have a plethora of members that are, exiting those, those years of graduating high school, going into college, that have never been able to really experience an MMO like we all were able to experience. And maybe that won't happen again. And that's okay, but I think there are a lot of titles that have been born and Kickstarters that have been created exactly to bring that feeling back. And that is kind of their root goal, is recreating that community that existed 15 years ago in a lot of these titles. And they're trying to bring a lot of these back. And
maybe when the kids get sick of Fortnite, they'll come and play these MMOs, and they will want to go back.
There's two things that I'd like to mention at this point, because it's been touched on of whether or not these games are coming out, why they're not coming out. I think a lot of single players and mass games have already taken things from MMOs and incorporated them inside of their gaming systems. Therefore, they have progression. Therefore, they have loot rolls. Therefore, they have massive group dynamics. I just saw something that No Man's Sky is going to have 32-man raids coming up now, and if that's not taking away from the MMO crowd, I don't know what is.
I mean, you're not wrong. There's one thing I have noticed, and we particularly noticed this with TISO, was a lot. It certainly seems like a lot of the current MMO population is, I don't want to say the word, but I'm going to say flighty. Like they have difficulty, they seem to not have any inclination, or as much inclination, I shouldn't say any, but as much inclination to really focus on a single game and commit to it, in part because they don't have to. A lot back in the day, there was only a couple big MMOs going on at any given time that may have come out over the span of a couple of years.
Previous stream about the fact that a lot of MMOs are implementing multiple guild formats, so that even makes it more flighty.
Yeah. Well, that was a huge problem we had because we were again adapting with the times. Was sometimes slow, but we were very stringent. We were like, we do not want our members in multiple guilds in TISO. We want you focused on our guild. And for some people that worked, but for a lot of people, it was very difficult to keep members in that game because they wanted to be raiding in like four different guilds for different things. And we loosened the requirements a little bit over time, but it became difficult. And then we got so many other games that do have MMO-like elements in there where it's not really an MMO, but people were just spending so much time doing all these other games. And I think one thing that it's also materialized into is, in order to beat up on officers at least once in this episode,
I'm sorry,
no, seriously, I think it's materialized a little bit in a lot of the current population. At least for us anyway, we've had difficult time finding people who want to be officers, who are willing to step up and take those leadership roles. And it's often fallen on our older members to do it. And they're, a lot of them, to some extent, are sometimes burn out on doing that. They're like, I've been doing that for 5 years. I'm tired of it.
What I think that's symptomatic of, though, is I think you have potentially a lot of younger gamers that are not used to what that role even entails, and they haven't really been able to see that role in action, observe that, and then aspire to be that in a community. And that is very symptomatic of it being difficult to keep a lot of players in a game. And you ultimately, you can't slight players for wanting to go play something that's fun. I think a lot of things, there is a grass is greener complex going on, where that you feel like you've kind of experienced everything a game has to offer, and then you have another title that's like, well, we haven't done this. It's talking about this, so it has all these check boxes of this, and some of this is question mark, but it's new, so it's like, I know what I got here. I kind of want to go try that, and we have obviously, I won't say been victim of that, but that has kind of just been the status quo for.
I think one benefit we're going to get is, like, for example, in the past, you got to give people a reason to really want to be in a guild. Like, the masses, a reason to want to be in the guild. In the past, it was, if you wanted to do a 40-man raid, you needed a guild. For something like Camelot Unchained, if you want to have a guild keep, if you want to take stuff and have something with your name on it, you're going to have to join a guild. In Star Citizen, if you want to be on a capital ship, like a ship that's being run by 50 people, you're going to have to be in an organization. Like, there's no getting around that. So hopefully things like that will help drive people to want to be in guilds and want to help run them.
Well, and there's also responsibility on us as guild leaders to advertise what we can offer you as a player. We are responsible for the self-promotion that is like, hey, why do I want to play with these people, adhere to their rules? What are they doing for me? And so that benefit does have to be kind of transparent and be something
that's why we work really hard at just building a reputation. We go out there, we fuck with people, we do whatever, and then when everybody gets mad at us, and then we turn around and spank everybody's ass, they're all like, oh, that's why they're cool, and then come join us because they like to avoid losing.
They like the taste of your salt. We understand.
Right, exactly.
So I think we've all agreed that the communities that we're running have gone far beyond the games that we play, given that we're bouncing from game to game. So I know a lot of people do in real life events and whatnot to try to kind of boost that community feel even more. What are some of the upsides and downsides of the real life events? Shout out to our troll in the chat. That's great. Love to see
What's
that.
up, troll? How you doing? LA Killer 2?
Yep.
Are you hardcore gangster, yo?
He's the second of his line.
Oh, the second of his line. Because LA Killer 1 died a horrible screaming death.
But anyway,
LA Killer 2, please don't bully me. I'm very
you're gonna make him cry.
You're gonna make me cry.
Okay, but
So,
in real life
anyway,
events, things that are outside of our games, what are you guys doing?
So Plague runs once a year. We do cookouts. We move it around the country, and we try to get as many people as possible to show up and spend a weekend with the guild. It's great. We've had great turnout, and everyone, like, we currently have a group chat that's just like for our cookout, and it's lively as hell. Like, people are just like, oh my god, can't wait to go, can't wait to be there, you know. And so we have great retention. Once people get involved in that, it creates a huge amount of loyalty, a lot of interest in the guild, and you know, these are people that are walking away anytime soon, because as soon as you meet people face to face, become real friends, as opposed to, I mean, I would say I've met plenty of real friends over online, but to solidify that, there's something that has to be physical. There has to be that meet and greet. So,
are there any downsides to having that real life get together? The impact
every
on the
once in a
community?
while, we got someone gets injured because they're too drunk, and so they're down for a couple of days. But other than that, no.
One of the biggest downsides would be people that can't be included in that, and that's, you know, that can kind of make some people get a sense of a feeling of being left out, and you know, it does.
You're
suck.
not wrong. You're not wrong.
It does suck. But
Because
that's
we deal with
kind of
people all over the world, so
Maybe
it's
you
like,
should invite LA Killer 2 to your cookout.
we got Southeast Asia, Australia, all that stuff.
If we ever LA Killer 2, you'll know first. You're definitely invited. I like the cut of your jib. But no, it is a tangible downside, and ultimately it just comes down to, you know, organizing an event that is as fair as possible, to as many people as possible.
Yeah, unfortunately, leadership is in North America, so at the end of the day, if you can fly to America, you are welcome to come. And we actually have our first Canadian flying in this year, so we're trying to lure more Canadians in that are in the guild. And if we can get we have an Australian who keeps saying that he's going to come up, but you know, falls short every day. So like, I'm like, come on! Every year he's like, come on. So hopefully next year we'll get our first Australian in, and we're going from there.
That's an expensive ticket.
Oh yeah, no, you ain't
He's
wrong.
gonna
You
drink.
ain't wrong.
He's gonna drink his fair share of beer. I'm just warning you.
Right. I mean, he's gonna make up for his flight by just drinking all the beer.
That's dedication to the community right there. So just on the tail end of the stream here, just wanted to touch base quick on retaining members. If people want to leave, if people are being pushed out, how do you go about retaining people?
So I'll take
Or
this
do
one
you?
first. This is where I think Discord has been an invaluable tool. I know, and a lot of people, again, let's talk, you know, maybe 7 years ago, we were very adamant about websites. We were very adamant about forums. And
Which
we
is
were
a
adamant
topic
about
to come.
Well, yeah, and we were adamant about using those tools to log activity. That along with in-game guild roster, right? Because we were only ever playing one game at a time, right? The beauty of Discord is, like, you know, it's on. So long as we as leadership are not removing people from our Discord, like, your icon's always there. You as a member, you have the ability at any time, and I'm speaking from our point of view of like an open door policy, to log in and say, hey, what's up? What are y'all doing? At any point in time. And so it's not like we are pushing you out the door like, hey, we don't want to play your game right now. It's like, if you are interested in seeing what our guild is doing, hop in and say what's up and talk to us. And so a lot of the requirement for attendance is simply, it's all in the player's hands. We don't have to, we don't have to kick players out of Discord. I know a lot of you guys have membership requirements or attendance requirements, and that's completely up to you, what y'all decide. But it's like, we don't have to kick people out, and people can feel free to come and join us whenever they like. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And it really is an invaluable tool in keeping people feeling like they can go try something new. And then when you guys are doing something that interests them, they can come back and check you out. And membership is very dynamic, I feel. And that's why I think it's most important this day to really focus on a number of what is like how many active members. I think that's less important at this time, and really focus on what is your community active somewhere. What are you guys doing together? How are y'all playing together?
Yeah, I would have to say we're definitely on the opposite end of the spectrum a little bit, because we view it as, if you're not an active member, you're not contributing to the active community, and so we can't have an active community unless y'all are all active. So we do kick people out for being inactive, and so the focus of the question really does cause a serious issue for us, because when retaining members is kind of a big deal for us, because as they leave, either from themselves leaving or from them not being active and they get removed from us by us, it's a huge problem. We do a number of different things to kind of alleviate it, like long-term members. We try to make it easier for them to rejoin. If they've been here for a year or so, we make it so they can kind of semi-resign to a rank where they can just come back, kind of an open door policy, because they've been here for a while. Essentially, yes. Or actually, they get to skip the application process and just come in, and we'll sit down and talk to them and kind of let them back in.
So there's still an interview,
but
yeah,
there is. But we still technically vote on whether or not to let them back in. But it's kind of a, it's like, as long as they didn't cause an issue, they're getting back in. We try to. I think one of the key things there, though, is from a retention standpoint, is trying, two things. One is the activity, which we've already beaten to death, so I'm not going to go back into that. Just being active, breeding activity through activity, and also trying to give people sustained realistic hope that the game is coming out and the game is looking positive. I say realistic hope because I don't think fanboying helps anybody. But I also don't think allowing yourself as the leadership to become overly negative is positive in any way. It's just going to make things worse for everybody. So I think as a leader, it's important to be realistic, but to at least try to keep some level of positivity going forward to keep people encouraged, because I think you can really impact people and their opinion on what's going on.
Well, that's where I think it's really important to have answers to the questions, to know what titles are on the horizon, know what's happening and what's releasing at least 3 months out, and then have an answer and discuss with your guild and your members, like, hey, what's the interest level on this? What are we looking like? I think that's one of the most important things, because you have those members that are not part of that conversation, and they will show up 2 weeks before a game goes live, and you need to have an answer for them, right? And they need to know, like, hey, obviously they're interested in this game, and they're like, I want to check you guys out. What, are you guys doing anything in this game? And I really think that's one of the most important things, is having an answer. Are you
5-year plan?
Are you exploring
just like you people in an interview tell you what's your 5-year plan? Plague is always sitting on a 5-year plan. I can
Malice,
tell
you hit on another topic that we have for the stream. It's a 5-year plan.
It was a 5-year plan, but that is important.
The 5-year plan includes the glorious reindustrialization of Mother Russia.
I was gonna say, it sounds vaguely familiar to someone that comes from a communist country.
All right, guys, we have some questions coming in. I think a couple of them are actually serious. Who paid for the troll viewer service for this stream? Gasparo 1112 or 112. That would
The
be
Russians did. No, it's the
Me?
Russians.
No,
They
I
set up
don't-
trolls.
Oh, I totally paid for it.
Malice is totally claiming that.
I was like, hey, let's get this stream a little excited, so I paid for a couple of trolls to come in.
And then Daniel 705677 wants to know if you're 91 years old, Malice.
91? No.
That's very
It was
specific.
very
I'm
specific.
sitting around 87, so that's whatever.
All right, what
He
advice?
looks good for his 104.
Graceful Healer, what advice would you give a new Viking guild just starting to recruit now?
Be active in the community.
Find another game to play together. I'm not talking about.
You're not
Definitely.
wrong.
Find a game that you guys can enjoy and play together. Probe your
Absolutely.
community. Check for interest of what the members you're picking up. Ask them what they're playing now,
Yep.
and then decide if y'all can find some congruency in that. Play that together because it's
As
important
Luca
to
is saying-
start playing games together now.
It
Because you
actually
don't
is.
have a
As
release
Luca
date.
is saying, I just want to be clear on that, is that you want to know, it's great to like somebody in a chat or on a forum, but as soon as you're in combat, playing a game with them, whether it be in PvE or PvP, you need to know if you can actually rely on that person on any level.
Well,
And
y'all
if
need
you
to start
can't,
failing. You need to start failing
need to-
together.
Right. I mean, and the thing is it's fine to even be bad, but as long as their personal goals are, I want to improve, I know I fucked up, then you can work with that person. But if you don't, if they're like, yeah, it's just the experience and no, fuck that guy, kick him, get the fuck out. It's nice that he's a nice guy, but go get some real members.
Well, the point is, you'll be very weak if you have a core and you guys haven't sorted that drama out already. It is going to be very negative, especially when you have fresh faces in and you guys hit your first challenges together in the game you're trying to really commit to. That's going to be bad, and it's going to be hard for you to retain new members. So y'all got to hit those challenges, overcome those hurdles, and learn how to work together in another title that you could care less about. And then take those skills and apply them to Camelot Unchained upon release.
So my advice is you might want to rethink being the hobo faction and join the Arthurian faction.
Oh man!
Graceful Healer, in all seriousness, my
not
piece of
wrong.
advice would be find yourself a number 2 that you can depend on 100%. Someone who is as enthusiastic about your guild and your community as you are, if not more so. This is a hard thing for one person to do, any kind of community. So the more people that you've got... What?
What? I mean, what?
The more people that you
I live
have
for
that
guild
are,
mergers, sorry.
that are on board with you, the easier it's going to be. RPG Rain, this is Tapuka. Why do you have poo in your name? Are you pooing?
A puka, for those who may not know, is a demon-possessed creature that often takes the shape of a horse, a changeling, if you will, that lures small children into the woods and then convinces them to climb on his back and then takes them on a wild ride
Freaking tree hugger.
from which they will
pedophile.
never escape and then devours their souls.
See, this is why I'm the only normal faction. You guys are hippies or like hobos.
I received the nickname Puka in high school while playing Dark Age of Camelot because whenever I would solo farm, I would farm the Pukas outside of Druum Kane because I was lazy and they were really easy to solo farm. And yeah, I don't know. I just got the nickname Puka and it's stuck
All
ever
right.
since. That's
Treville-
why Pooh is in my name.
Treville88 asks Velik, what caused Ordo Veritas to have such a barrier to entry and barrier to retention? And is
The
it
funny
to
part
maintain only a certain membership number?
No, the funny part is everyone in the other questions answered that question for me. We have requirements for activity and kind of reviewing and talking to our members because we want active people, and we often do start guilds up well before a game comes out, and we want active people that we've played games with. We know how they're going to react. We know what they're going to do when they're playing games and how they're going to respond if they lose, whether they learn from that or whether they freak out and start yelling cuss words at people while they're in chat. We want to connect with people and build as strong of a community as possible before the game comes out. That has generally been successful for us. And part of the reason we have an interview is, one, so we can start getting to know the person before we let them in, but also so that we can explain some of what they can expect from us beforehand, because we don't want people getting into the community and then going, wait, I've got to be active, I've got to do all this other stuff. We're like, we want them to come in, and then if we go, you're not active, you're not doing anything, we explained this to you during the interview. If you didn't understand it then, I mean, there's nothing we can do for you.
What Velik's trying to, in a more simplified way, is fuck you, noob. Learn to play.
I would say every community has their own way of doing some of these things because they're essential for all of us, and to fill people out. And that's been our method since the community was created.
RPG Rain comments says, Puka, I am fatter than your girlfriend pregnant. RPG Rain, I'm actually pregnant, not my girlfriend. In this relationship, I chose to bear our child.
Wow.
Oh, it's like alienation.
As to my due date, I don't know. I think the baby's going to be here for life.
All right, guys. Last question for the stream, and I'll take part of a question here. When do you think CU will be ready?
2 years
Probably-
minimum.
I think we're probably going to get to beta 3, hopefully first half of next year.
I think it is very realistic to expect a 2020 release date. Around holiday season, possibly third quarter. I think that is a very realistic expectation. But I would say with all things, the disadvantage of Camelot or of City State Games is they have been extremely transparent, and some people can read that as negative, and some people can read that as a positive. But the point is, I can't say none of us. A lot of us don't really understand game development and understand the schedules of that, but they are being very transparent with the progress they're making. Which is awesome, but at the same time, we're like, when you guys go finish this game? We ain't hearing nothing.
As a former developer, yeah, I'm going to tell you at least third quarter 2020. That's the soonest you're going to expect.
It'd be a miracle. And what we do have is we have a promise that this game is not launching until it's ready to launch. But there are some realities there from a standpoint of funding, and what we don't know are those numbers. So I'd be interested to see the effect of the 11 million investment that was received this year. And I don't know what that did for that timeline. I would imagine that extended their launch table and made it so that they can refine more things before having to go to launch. Eventually, they will have to launch this title to start generating more revenue. That is the point of this company, is they need to launch this title and start generating our subscriptions and revenue, or you just can't keep people on staff. And then not only that is they then will have to transition into a new title.
But a lot of
sorry, go ahead.
And a lot of the release of the game is highly contingent on what they've said all along: staffing. Despite the infusion of the new money, they don't seem like they've been able to successfully ramp up hiring that much. They have had some new appointments that we've found out from at time to time, but it doesn't seem like it's been perhaps not as huge of a ramp up as they wanted. And it has sounded like they may have over time lost one or two people as well. So that certainly has always seemed to be the biggest issue for them development cycle-wise, except for the whole ability revamp issue.
Their development requirement is a little bit higher than you'll run into in a lot of titles, too. When you look at CU, basically, if you want to go on their forums, look on their career section, if you're not a full programmer, you're really don't have too many options there. So unlike a lot of games that have, you're just a content builder, you're using tools, you're doing things like that allow you to kind of take a mid worker and kind of expand on whatever. everybody at CC8 Games is required to be a programmer. So it's a hard fight to find the talent that they need, because if you got that skill set, you could go and make a lot more money in the private sector.
And remember, guys, we finally have a pre-scheduled stream. It's been announced by CU. If you've got a community, get your people, or test. Why did I say stream? It's a test. Pre-scheduled test.
No streaming.
Although there is no love for Vikings
Stream
on
the
that
test.
test. If you read the fine print, Vikings cannot participate in a couple of the scenarios. So there is that. But hey, we are a step closer.
No hobos allowed.
Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next week. Remember, our community spotlight releases on Wednesday, assuming life does not attack me in a very horrible way. And we will see you all next weekend. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Take care.